everybody. Happy Wednesday. Thanks for coming. How y'all doing?
Great.
Good. Everybody's super excited to be here, I can tell. So, what the theme of today was how to turn your moves into good moves, which is a little misleading. Because if I knew how to do that, I'd keep turning my moves into better moves. But the general idea is someone says, why is tengen bad? And the answer is that tengen is not bad, but that you have to turn it into something good, right? Your job as a Go player is to take your moves and turn them into moves that happen to be in the right place, right? So it's fairly straightforward. Like, it is very easy, and I can point to a number of direct sequences that will make a play on the 4-4 good. Does that make sense? Like, once I've played here and here, I can pretty much be assured that this is going to not be invadable until white has a large number of stones, maybe on the second or the first lines nearby, right? Like right here, it can be invadable immediately, but I can show you a number of sequences where this turns into a good move for influence, right? Like this, it can still be invaded, but I can show you some sequences where I get even better influence, or white can at best make a ko. And like this, I can tell you that barring overwhelming outside white strength, this is my territory, right? So there's a number of sequences that I know are related to this stone that will put it in the right place. Does that make sense? So that it will end up, at the end of the game, I'll say, gosh, this sure is in the right place. It's a lot harder to do that when your stone's out here, right? So when people say, hey, is this a bad move? It's not a bad move, but it is your responsibility to make it a good one. Does that make sense? So similarly, when someone plays the Chinese opening, like this, the Chinese opening is based on a couple of deliberate sequences that are set up to build a moyo along the bottom of the board, right? That's kind of what it's about. Right? After something like this, you have a good chance to develop something down here. Right? So, from the get-go, these three moves are all already working in concert with each other to execute a larger strategy. A stone in tengen could execute part of a strategy, like for instance, the hilarious and super enjoyable to play Great Wall Fuseki, right? This is sometimes a lot of fun to play. It's part of a coherent strategy. Odds are good this will turn out to be in a reasonable place. May not be an optimal place, but at least in a good one. So when you take tengen, you are saying to the other person that you are going to find a way to turn that into a move in the right place. And the reason that's a hard thing to do compared to a 3-4, or 3-3, or 3-4, or 5-4, is that there are fewer defined sequences that make this turn out to be in a good place. Now, if your opponent happens to feel like, I don't know, Frank Lamb or something like that, after something like this, this is any of these things that could be considered almost Joseki. White's going to find that white's a move behind in all of the fights that flow out of this move in the middle. And so white's sort of turning this into a good move for black. Does that make sense? So it may not be the best thing to do when someone opens tengen to just attach to it and start fighting, although it is super fun. Because I think those are some of the very few examples of situations where you are turning it into a reasonable move. Does that make sense? You're sort of turning it into a reasonable move right off the bat. So you don't need to do that, right? So one of the things so this is the first thing I want to talk about, is this idea that if you've played tengen, it becomes your responsibility to make it good. And whether that means building a very large moyo and forcing a fight, where tengen will sort of magically end up in the right place when it's running away, that's kind of a good idea, but there's no guarantees that this is actually going to be the vital point of the fight. It could just as easily be right next to the vital point on the fight. Like, those sequences, you can't read them that far in advance. So it's not like you're planning on it. At that point, it's sort of, it's much fluffier, if that makes sense. It doesn't really have any sort of concrete sequences that lead to a good result. Whereas something like this, I can say that even after white approaches, there's any number of positions where this will end up on the right spot. Make sense? Okay, so that's kind of the idea that I wanted to talk about. But what I want to show you is I want to show you I played a game with Nick Sabicki. How many of you guys saw it? Anybody see it? So you saw it. All right, so then no surprises for you here. I want to go over just a little bit about that game to talk about how this idea of turning it into a good move might mean something, because Nick Sabicki started playing Mirror Go, right? He said, this would be funny if I just played Mirror Go. So I attached over here, and he attached down here. And I said, all right, Nick, if you're going to play Mirror Go, I'm going to do this first. And so then when he, played the next move, because I ignored him, I said, now I'm the one playing Mirror Go, and I have tengen. So this was kind of just being cutesy. It's a fun game between friends, right? No big deal. So now it's up to me to make this a good move. So I want to look at just the first couple dozen moves here and talk about this. I did think that, it's bigger for me to go here, and that the relative benefit of him going here is not as much. And so this is probably, he should probably just leave it here, because now this has a big issue here, right? If we look at this as a mirror, right, as long as this is here and I can't invade directly, I will eventually have to worry about a white play here, which aims at this vital point here. Since it's not there, we can compare what I got in this corner to what he got in this corner, and that's how far I'm sort of behind, if that makes sense, right? I need to match that with the value of what I get out of this Tanuki. Instead, he played here, and it made my life a lot easier for reasons we'll talk about in a moment. So we talked a bit about how he slides here. I think these two are Mii, so I don't really care about it. So Tanuki comes here. And then at this point, when he plays this covering move, also, maybe more urgent than it should have been, but I really wanted to play here, so I did. Why is playing here important? Because now, I don't need to worry about this vital point, this slide being on the vital point, because these two stones will die. There's no sequence by which he can connect underneath without letting these two stones go. Does that make sense? So that means that this slide is not a big thing for me, right? At the way things are right now. Which means, conversely, that I could really attack a stone like this really hard. So having this safe makes this much more threatening in terms of being a big thing.
Are you also thinking about getting out to the tengen?
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking about getting out to tengen. I'd love to turn this into a big wide bay. That's what I'd love to do. So similarly, I think that if Nick had blocked on this side, and I had reacted like this, I think this would have been a better result for him. Maybe I can push through and cut here, but that's actually really scary because the Hane, like if I push right here and cut, I can't answer this Hane with a block, right? So right at the get-go, I'm going to be in trouble if I have to fade back here. This descent, what's the life and death in the corner? You guys should be able to see it. If you can't, don't worry about it. That'll be your next homework problem. But it means that I do have to sort of answer this block with something kind of lame. It feels kind of lame. And then he can reinforce and make, something deeper here, and also it's going to be tougher for me to make something here. But he didn't block on this side. In fact, he didn't block on either side. He just covered here, and I played here like this. Then he played here, I played here, and when he extended here, I also didn't think this was big enough. I wanted to play here. And so this is sort of where I'm building at trying to do something about this. So he got huge thickness here, no contesting it. I don't even want to invade it. I'm not in any hurry, sorry I misspoke. I'm not in any hurry to come in here because this is his stronghold. He's gonna get some territory. I don't care, I got just as much over here, right? So this is a real, they've got something big, I can have something big, no problem. Whether or not these are right or not, these were just my judgments at the time. But this move here is aiming at a nice follow-up here, and I assumed that he would need to protect and cover this cut in some way. And so the exchange of these two moves is probably a bad plan on my part, because I'm helping to nerf my own tengen stone. It's up to me to do something with it, and I'm not really doing anything with it. He doesn't have any targets for me to attack. It would probably have been better for me to invade here directly and had this as a target, but it's still not very big. It might be bigger to reduce down here first. So that's sort of my thinking on this. And when I played here, I was expecting, even something like this would be a nice way for him to sort of call it. I kind of like this one too, although it leaves a peep behind for later. I don't know what I'd do. But I definitely didn't expect him to do this, because this is the other major theme that we want to talk about, which is just going to bring me back, of course, to why we do problems, because I love doing problems. I don't really love doing problems. I have to make myself do problems, just like you guys have to make yourselves do problems. There's no substitute, except no substitute. So right here, I don't know what I was thinking. So he played here, and I thought for a while about whether or not I wanted to extend here or here. Is that right? Did I play here? Did he play here? I think he played here. In any event, after reading for a long time, I determined that he couldn't net me when I played here. And this resulted in a really, really bad result, because, oh no, he jumped out here, that's right. He jumped out here like this. And I'm trying to think about whether or not I want to extend here or here. And instead I played neither, I played here, because after a lot of reading, I decided that this won't capture me. And indeed it won't capture me, I was right. But I didn't do the last part of reading, which is visualizing the final result and deciding whether or not it's actually good. So, in this case, yeah, I can't escape. Like, this is a bad idea for me to keep doing things like this way. Right? So, in this case, after playing all of these moves, I have to do all of these moves to get out. I don't have a choice. And once he turns here, I have to push through. Oops, I played this move. This is the move that I did play. I have to push through and take these two stones, or these will all die. And the problem with that is that all of these moves are sente. Even that move is sente. So now he could come back and play here, and he's got big thickness, right? Like this right here is much harder for me to do anything with. I think he actually played here, which is even better. And I think he did play here. This is a better move, and I think Nick would play the better move. You get that, Nick? You are amazing at Go. Okay, sorry. But this result, I visualized this whole thing. I said to myself, yeah, that doesn't work. What I neglected to do was say, is this a good position for black? And that's the harder thing. So the visualization is key, because you need to be able to do a little bit of math. You need to not just say, hey, will he capture my stones? And I said, no, he won't. Proceeded blindly on. That's half of the battle. Half the battle. So, otherwise, this would have been a very good position for black. This was looking like it's going to be a very good position for black, I should say. If instead of playing here, I play here, I don't even need to do anything terribly much. Or maybe even I go this way. He answers down here, and I could even do something like this. Starting this fight would be probably great. This is a solid group. I don't really have to worry about anything other than a few forcing moves. This is a solid group. This is just waiting here in reserve, right? Anything that comes out of this has a strong likelihood of making this into actual territory, making this into something big, and then when that's done, something coming over here would be nice. It would be a good feeling, right? So starting this fight is likely to turn this into a good move. Having that other result would have turned this into a bad move. Does that make sense? So like by giving him that thickness, I could have said, wow, this is going to be really dumb out here, right? And although it was, honestly, I got 99% of the enjoyment out of it just so I could play Mirago for those two moves and turn it around on it. But 99% of the enjoyment is not 99% of the value of the efficiency. So that's sort of the point. So that's what I had to talk about. This is one nice application, how to turn your moves into good moves. You guys have all been doing a lot of homework problems. I've given 4 weeks of homework problems. I'm so excited. There's a test. I have all 4 weeks of homework problems mixed up and turned into, so we've shuffled the colors, we've rotated them around, did the same problems, just the life and death problems, not the best play problems, because those give people headaches. But I would like to see you guys try and get through as many as you can in the next hour. Sound good? So get through as many as you can, treat it like a test, go through, do the ones that you know. So also, real quick, these problems are not to be memorized. Like, So how many of you guys saw Hodgins' recent video, the 10 most important life and death shapes? Yeah, pretty good, right? You should memorize those. Those are really good. Definitely check them out. I'll send the link out after class. But you should check out, like, those are things you should memorize. The answer of, oh gosh, he gave me a test, I should memorize these and make flashcards, not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for this to be a way for you guys to see the patterns a second time, get get used to seeing the same Tesujis. Does that make sense? So hopefully there's enough variation here that you have to say, you actually do read it out again, but it should be quicker and easier for you to do it this time. So, how's that sound? This 110 problems. It's the last 4 weeks worth of problems. Oh, plus some other new ones mixed in that you won't have seen before, just to keep things fun. Okay, sound good?
So we're going to do 110 problems
110
in 1 hour?
In an hour. And if you finish, you'll pair up with other people who finished to play games. Or we could do it until 9. How long do you guys want to do it? Let me put it this way. I have a current homework turn-in rate of about 30%. So if this is the only way I can get you guys to do homework problems, then I don't see anything wrong with that. Yeah. You're excited. You're excited. That's excitement on your face. All right, guys. Seriously, no, have fun with these, and I hope you can use them in the spirit which they're intended. Any questions for me? Any questions about the game? Any questions about Life to Universe, everything?